Welcome, beautiful souls, to Divine Feminine Roundtable with the amazing Laura Eisenhower, Nina Starsong, Christianne van Wijk, and me, Tara Love Perry. And today we're just discussing what we were going to talk about, and we're going to talk about the eclipses because we're in the middle of the eclipses right now, the divine feminine energies, what's going on, and whatever else happens to come up today. So thanks for being here again, sisters.
Lovely.
Good to see you guys.
Yay, thanks for being with us, you beautiful viewers. So just before we launch into our discussion, any announcements that anybody wants to make, anything that you want to share with everybody before we jump in?
Oh,
It's always like that, right? You wait for someone and then you all open your mouth at the same time. You go, Laura.
okay. Yeah, if anybody's in the New York City area, I'm going to be speaking at New Life Expo in Brooklyn, New York, October 27th to 29th, and Stairway to the Stars in Las Vegas around 11/11. I think it's the 10th to the 13th. And then Zen Awakening in Florida, which is the 16th to 19th of November. So I know that's just kind of like, okay, what's that all about? Just a couple of events. So Florida, Vegas, and New York. If you guys are in that area and you want to find out more, check out my website, cosmicguide.org.
Brilliant. Wish I was there. That would be epic.
Yes.
That would be epic.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've been editing. So David Icke has got a new book out called The Dream. And he thinks it's going to be part of a trilogy, and it's the second part. And the first part was The Trap, where he's looking into the Matrix and how the Matrix continues after death if you're not careful. And then in The Dream, he's going even deeper into this. And so I've been making a film of that as well. And you've just seen
I just saw a
little clip of it where we're going through different dimensions. And that's coming out in December on Christmas Eve on Ickonic.com, ICKONIC.com. And I really would recommend it to people who want to understand more what happens after death and what's happening in the astral and in the fourth dimension and the higher dimensions.
It's really well explained. I just want to say, I was at last Saturday, David Icke's been on his secret tour with Chrissy, obviously, and the whole team. And I went to the live show with them. And I have to say, David's presentations are really something else. They are so brilliant, so well put together. He's got all these slides, and it really takes people through a very logical, no-brainer. This is what happens, this is what happens, and this is how we get from here to there. And it really takes people on such an amazing journey. And if you don't know any of that stuff, it's like, whoa, it makes sense. It's so well explained. So, I mean, if you still get a chance to go in one of those events, I think there's only 2 left, isn't there?
There's Luton left next week, and then there's Glasgow the week after, or 2 weeks after, and Middlesbrough. But most of them are sold out, so you have to just look
but to be honest, if you can go in last minute and try and get a seat, it is so worth it. And of course, they're only in the UK because he's been banned from everywhere.
Yeah, he's a prisoner in his own country.
He's been banned from everything. So that's a good sign that he's obviously putting out something. And for me, it was so accurate. So, and this film that I just saw a tiny little snippet of, again, it does the same thing. It's so brilliant the way that it's explained everything. So make sure that you watch that, everyone. It's awesome.
Tara.
Well, you have to. It's like, it's so good. Just quickly, I've got a new training. It's not a new training. It's the same transformational self-love therapy training. And I'm recruiting now for a start in January. So if anybody wants to go and check that out, go and have a look at transformationalselflovetherapy.com, my new website, and go and check that out. It's going to be very, very wonderful. That's it. That's how I notices. Nina, have you got anything you wanted to add in?
I do. So I would appreciate everybody's prayers because I co-wrote and sang on a song with the amazing harp angelic player, Peter Sterling. And so that's up for a Grammy. And it would be so awesome to have more in that world because there's a lot of awakening happening in Hollywood. I was at the Grammy parties, and it was amazing how much in the New Age genre, there's a ton of honor right now of the divine feminine and the mother and that awakening on the planet. quantum fields, cosmic. I was just like, wow, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
So also on 11/11, I will be a part of a beautiful ceremony and 3-day event, singing and bringing in those divine feminine, Holy Spirit, mother codes with a bunch of other facilitators. So if you're in Sedona, make sure it's going to be at the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. And also, I, of course, am always doing my sessions. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm very busy doing that with the prophetic theta healing and frequency attunements, and also prophetic intuitive readings.
Wow.
Nice.
I heard your singing at one concert recently. I saw a clip and I was absolutely blown away.
Really? What did you see?
It was somewhere in Sedona. It was.
Oh, I think that
I
was
think
the
it
daughter.
was actually, I think it was where David had a spoken clip. They asked him to do a spoken clip that he did on that. It's a conference of like, well, I don't know. I don't remember the name, but you were singing then.
I think it was the Daughters of Heaven event that
Yeah.
just happened recently.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I saw his clip because I wasn't always out there, but that's amazing. I didn't know that. I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Your voice is otherworldly, Nina. It's incredible. Right, sisters. So how are we feeling? What are you feeling at this present moment right now, and in the recent couple of weeks or so? What's happening for you?
Nina, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So on the fall equinox, I actually passed out and had to be admitted to the hospital because my electromagnetics, electrolytes, nervous system was just completely out of whack and my kidneys couldn't take it anymore. And so what I've been going through is this reawakening of my feminine energy saying to me, I can't live in this fight or flight possibility of this might happen and that might happen. And I'm also going through some really personal stuff. The ladies know, but I'm not really ready to share with everybody yet. But it's basically been a huge awakening of coming more in touch with my feminine energy. It's a funny thing because I'm kind of known for being so feminine, but I feel like in this context of what we've been going through since COVID, it's been this constant warrior. Oh, the borders might close. Oh, this might happen. Oh, that might happen. Stock up food, learn how to shoot guns, like all this stuff. And I'm so burnt out on it. I'm absolutely exhausted by it. When I was in the hospital, the Divine Mother said to me, you can't live like this anymore. Something has to change, or it's literally it's like leading you into breaking down. So it's been this beautiful reconnection to my own feminine energy and kind of pulling back and coming back into that receiving, the receptivity of allowing those blessings to come in, allowing that masculine energy to come and help. And I've noticed that moment to moment, I'm just asking my feminine energy, what do you need? How do you feel right now? And it's really challenging because in times of things aren't known, especially if you're not in a relationship or if you're not in a stable situation or with a man that's stable, you're kind of having to hold the reins right now. And I realize like I personally can't live like this anymore. So I'm wondering how, and the equinoxes have really been amplifying this for me. It's like the Venusian codes within myself are awakening. I'm doing a Venusian event also in December, and it's just like the goddess Venusian energy wants to come out and raise that vibrational love and stop being that warrior that has to continually be in this spiritual warfare battle. And I'm just wondering how all the other women are feeling right now. And Laura, I'm wondering how this is showing up in the charts. You know, what are we going through right now on the cosmic astrological level?
Yeah, gosh. Well, we had the solar eclipse, new moon, ring of fire in Libra, activating the south node. And the square of Mars and Pluto is just like really intense. It's a really volatile energy, and it has to be very well directed because it's very creative, right? Just like, you know, Kundalini, the creative, sexual, spiritual energies, when they're all kind of combined, you know, Mars, Pluto, all rules that part of our being, you know, the warrior energy, like you were talking about with the North Node in Aries, and the Chiron in Aries is very much the wounded warrior and the wounded healer together, right? So as we integrate into the North Node, which is asking us to look at that ego identity, you know, what is our willpower telling us? What do we need to stand up for in reflection of the Libra, like relationships? Where's our internal balance? Is it off? Is it in harmony with those around us? Because the South Node is always asking us to reflect upon the foundation of, you know, that energy. So a lot of eruptions are going to happen with that Pluto Mars square. If something's not meant to be, it's just like, it just can't last. It's either going to transform or it's going to die, and it has to like be released and let go of. And this is all like really within ourselves too, you know, like where are we reaching burnout? Because that Mars energy is like, got to do this, got to, you know, act and set intention and focus on what we need to do for self-preservation. It's very much a pioneer. It's very much the leader, right? But it's integrated into that Libra energy of where is it reaching burnout? Where is it too much? Where are we overextending ourselves to others? And so, and you know, what do we need to let go of, because it's too much baggage to take, you know, as we like move forward. Is it ours? Is it somebody else's? Is it something that we can like do together? Because in that Mars energy of independence and claiming, like, you know, just our sovereignty and strength in who we are, you know, is that in alignment with the people that we're with? Are we able to walk that path together? Are we moving through these initiatory energies, purging and cleansing and transforming and riding these, you know, waves together? Or is there too much conflict and too much discord? And how do we handle that when that shows up? So now we're moving into the October 28th lunar eclipse in Taurus with Venus in Virgo. So it's bringing up a lot of issues surrounding self-worth and health, and like, you know, what do we need to do to just take care of the human vessel? You know, where can we direct this Venus energy towards self-love and recognizing self-worth, you know? So going from like the Venus Libra relationship, balance, harmony, justice, peace, maintaining that, stepping into strength of self so that we can stand our ground and be true to ourselves and make sure that we're not operating under what others want us to be and what society is like trying to trigger in us, into the Venus Taurus of abundant self-worth, reflecting on Venus Virgo, because it's in Virgo. Can we answer to what our body is telling us and make that a priority? Because I've been really feeling it too. Like I'm not in my body at all. Like I'm trying to do little like blips and do little things that seem like really easy, and I'm just like my nervous system, I'm like, oh my gosh, today's not a good day to be on camera. And like, you know, but I still show up, and especially with you guys, because I knew like just being with you guys, I was going to feel a lot better just to air all this out, you know, because so much moving through us. We're integrating like so much is constantly bombarding us. And just like you said, this might happen, that might happen. And when you're around other people that are like in panic mode, or, you know, then I get in panic mode, and the fight or flight is just really taxing and exhausting. I just want to be present in the now and focus on like, what are my intentions? How can I, you know, navigate this and feel into my intuition to know, like, is this safe for me? Should I say yes to this? Or is an event going to manifest that will keep me from doing something that might put me in harm's way? And I don't have to say no, because more than likely there might be a traffic jam and I missed the plane, because it might be better not to fly. Or am I going to be stuck at the airport because the border's closed? Or what about my kids that are like in a different country? And it's just like too much.
Too much. It's
so
way too much.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to like stay grounded and you know, I'm almost feeling like a sense of like I don't want to say lack of confidence or insecurity, but just almost like I have to show up for people and be really, you know, like, yeah, I know what to say and how to guide. And I feel that's always there, you know, when I'm just able to receive and let it kind of move through me from my higher self. I can't do that in the fight or flight. You know, I'm just right there with everybody else, just kind of like wanting a hug and wanting that reassurance and wanting to just crawl into a ball and just like cry it all out. It's just hard to show up sometimes when you feel that way. So I think the intensity of the eclipse energies are creating huge breakthroughs, massive purging, and we'll come out the other end of it in really good shape. But while we're in the midst of it, you know, like we were talking about, I think in the last show, the gooiness and craziness of being in the cocoon before the emergence. But like when you're feeling like the cocoon's being torn open before you're ready to fly, you know, sometimes it's like, wait a second, wait a second. We got to just really hold space for ourselves, because it's rapid. It's not just like one big transformation. It's every day. You know, what do I need to release in my mind and my emotions today so I can just carry through and tackle all the human tasks and take care of the physical self and not lose my shit. Which I find and lose again and find. What about you guys?
I think you just spoke for almost everyone. I'm going to invite everybody who's feeling something similar to that to comment down below and get it all out as well. Like this, let it be a safe space to share this, because where else can we bring this? Right? Especially when you've got your responsibilities and you've got to, like you said, you've got to show up for people. And then to be honest, Laura, I'm going to say I've been feeling like that most of the time for the last year. I've had a lot of time alone, and I really haven't wanted to show up on camera, and I haven't done loads of videos at all. And of course that affects my work, it affects my income, it affects my visibility. And then without having that visibility, then there's no income coming in. And so I've definitely was, you know, for the last year or so, I've been in that moving into fight or flight. Oh my gosh. And like you said, Nina, like not having, personally, I'm not in a relationship. I'm not in a stable base either. I don't have the stability. I am the sole one that's responsible for my stability. There is no backup plan. There is nothing to fall into. It's me having my shit together or everything falls apart. And that can be at times really, really scary. And I feel like we're definitely not alone in that. I feel like there's a lot of women, divine feminines in that energy, because where is our counterpart? Where is that strong, protective, masculine that's providing, you know? And that's, you know, of course that is in the world, but it's not as visible or as there as I think a lot of us would like to be seeing it. And so, yeah, it's like it does make us move into that place of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to look after myself? And it's really interesting. I was doing a reading for a friend last night, and she was saying she's in a stable relationship. She's got the stability, but she was really feeling a very similar thing. Like, actually, I have big chunks where or days where I just want to crawl under the duvet. I don't want to show up. I don't want to be visible. Don't want to be on camera. Kind of don't really want to work anymore. Even though we love what we do and she loves what she does and I love what I do, I was feeling the same. It's like, I love what I do. There's no part of my reality where I would never stop doing that. And yet there's times where I just go, I can't deal with it, simply because of that. I've got to show up. I've got to keep going. And it's really brilliant, isn't it? When you can read other people. I always find that such a great mirror for myself if I'm not reading myself properly. And so when I was doing this reading for her last night, it was so clear that where she was in the ego self was like, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and survival and money and this and that and work and showing up, and how that was stressing her out, and how used to being in that modality she is and we are and I am. And then there's the other part where the soul is saying, lean back. It's like, and the analogy that I gave was like the difference between being that one little droplet going, I'm alone, I'm just one little droplet, I'm separate, the whole ocean is in me and I've got to express and be this whole ocean, I've got to get that message out there. I've got to help these people. I've got to be fully me, and I've got to do all of this stuff and take care of everything. And then going into the leaning back into the ocean and going, no, my drop is in the ocean, and the whole ocean is there supporting me, and I'm not alone. Does that make sense? So there's the ego level, and then there's the soul level. And what I was telling her in her reading, in a nutshell, was like her soul essence was saying, lean back into the ocean. Remember that you are being held by the entire ocean. Yeah. You are not on your own. And that's hard when the mind goes, yeah, but it's all right. Yeah, but what about this? And what about that? And it's like, okay, I think it's a choice. We can choose to keep staying in that and being in that fight or flight and being in that stressed out, strung out, nervous system, anxious state. Or we can go, okay, I can't keep doing this anymore. This is not working for me. This is not the paradigm I want to be living in. It's not the reality I want to be living in. And can we really trust our soul, and that we are completely held by our soul tribe, our collective soul energy, right? I know that we share a collective soul energy. There's a lot of us sharing that same level, that same frequency or similar frequency of soul tribe. And what if we can all really drop in and be in that collective state and remember, and almost like really feel it, not just imagine it or visualize it, but actually connect here, merge into it. And then we've got the whole force, the collective power, the collective energy of everybody with us. And we could tangibly, somatically feel that in our bodies and our hearts. Because our ego mind's never going to understand that. So I was saying to her, like, just get your ego self, and it's usually the inner child, the little child freaking out. And it's like, can we take our mind, can we take our ego, can we take our inner child, wrap them up in a blanket, soothe them down, stroke their hair, kiss them on the cheeks, kiss them on the forehead, like stroke yourself down. Give yourself that blanket, pull it in and say, it's okay, I've got you. Now let's lean back into this together. Does that make sense? And it really does help with the nervous system, because I've had to heal my nervous system a whole bunch of times, because I've really burned myself out to the point where I'm in agony. My grandmother died of MS, so it flares up in me really easily. And I would literally just stroke my nerves and talk to them and say, I love you. I've got you. I feel you. You're safe. And just literally stroke my body, stroke my nerves, visualize my nervous system being coated, because the nerves get frayed. It's like the coating comes off, because you get super wired. And you can visualize that beautiful sheath growing back over the nerves, and then taking ashwagandha root every day in a smoothie or something like that really, really helps. So for people who are feeling like that, and getting into the breath, just breathing, it will just sort you out really quickly.
For years, I was in that fight or flight mode, so I know exactly what it's like. I mean, I was trying to make a living from filmmaking, and it wasn't really working. So I was living off nothing pretty much for many years. And for me, I'm in a situation now where I'm not in the fight or flight situation. It's with me, everything's always the other way around. It's like everyone has this, and then I'm experiencing the opposite. But also when everyone's good, I'm in the opposite kind of place. But one thing I do know, and I'm not saying that how I deal with things is the right way, but what I've noticed in myself, and I was talking to you about it when we were walking, is that the way I'm starting to see this reality now is that there's a constant tennis game going on. And we're sitting as the audience, and we're watching the tennis game like that. This whole thing of duality, there's a constant two sides of everything. There's a constant polarity, and there's constantly an invitation or a temptation for us to get into that game. And once we're in it, we're like, boom, we're invested in it, and we're emotionally attached to it. And suddenly we have extra responsibilities to the other people in the game. And what I've found myself feeling is that I'm not so attracted anymore to being in the duality and in the drama and in the story. There's always a story. Wherever you go, there's a story playing out. And I feel like I've been withdrawing from that. And kind of looking in on this reality. And I see it all happening, but I don't want to like go into it. I don't want to be part of it. And you could say, oh, well, I'm maybe sticking my head in the sand, or you know, like I should just, you know, dive into it and transmute it through diving into it. But I've done that for many, many, many years. And I just feel tired of this way, the way this matrix is set up. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this matrix only works because of the duality, because of the electricity, minus and plus. And as the minus and plus is happening, that's how the matrix is being held in its shape, which means we need to be in that minus plus all the time too. Conflict, duality, polarity. And I feel the more I'm not wanting to get into the storyline, the more I feel the matrix is dismantling. And I think maybe for humanity, it's an important time now to become more of an observer of this open asylum, because it is an open asylum. You know, the overtness of the way politics is happening and the way human beings on the street are behaving. You know, it's so absurd that there has to be a point where you kind of go, okay, I'm just going to look in for a while. And yeah, that's kind of my journey at the moment. And I want to make sure I don't become unempathic or, you know, cold or cognitively dissonant. But I found I'm not, because there are still moments where if I look in, I can still feel everything. I'm still, you know, my heart's still open, but I'm just choosing not to engage with a lot of things anymore. And perhaps this is the next stage for humanity, where we are pulling back from the duality so that electricity can't go anymore, and it has to dismantle. This matrix has to dismantle so the prime earth can appear through that. And we can bloody stop this nonsense that's going on, because I mean, it is so mental right now. I mean, just to give the example of Israel and Gaza, I mean, that's an example, an overt example of what's happening in the consciousness of many people on the planet. And it's too absurd to even buy into it anymore.
Yeah, I really feel that that's what this ascension energy is all about, because, you know, the matrix as we know it requires a codependency bond, and for us to be plugged into it, and for us to be constantly like reactive or looking for the solutions outside of ourselves, looking for the savior outside of ourselves, looking for you know, and to unplug from it means that our creative energy is like free to flow with our higher self, our intuition, Mother Earth, and what's encoded in nature and in our DNA, to begin to like switch back on, right? So a lot of what I focus about in my talks is how we upgrade in the face of adversity. All these challenges are here to open up us to, you know, our greater potential, the creative imagination, you know, how we can respond in a situation from our divine center, you know, being in the now, being resourceful, and being able to tap into something that brings in a miracle vibration, brings in a frequency that can actually shift the duality or the distortions, to begin to, you know, have like a soul to soul connection with people and break their madness, because that's what they're really longing for too, because they're stressed, right? Because I find you know, just kind of being out and about, you know, with people I don't know, you know, when you can just have that like kind of eye contact with that great conversation where, you know, that matrix doesn't exist. You're just having a soul to soul exchange. You know, we had that with each other, you know, because we're soul tribe. But when you can do that with the customer service person, the person behind the counter, or just, you know, in the madness of it all, like stay in that vibration. It breaks down that 5D. It breaks down all these frequency distortions that are constantly coming at people, making everybody on edge and afraid of each other and afraid of, you know, what the next blast of news is going to be, you know, and it just helps us to see that a whole other timeline in reality actually exists right beneath our nose. It just depends on our energy investment. Are we invested in, being yanked in as a food source and a battery to this artificial matrix timeline and trajectory? Or are we flowing with, this universal cosmic and natural law, divine energy that is helping us to upgrade and switch on the parts of ourselves that we're missing, and that these challenges are helping us to retrieve that and not digress us, and we have a choice in every moment to expand and reach into it, or go the other way, which is disempowerment, victimhood, and dependency. And that shows up in our micro world and the stories of our lives, like you said, in the relationships we have to cut off, or the careers, or the locations that we might be living in, the way that we're moving through life. We got to kind of break away from the story for a little bit to just find that neutral zone, to then know how to act and make decisions from a place of, this is for the betterment of myself and the higher good of humanity, and answering to that in every moment, is so important.
Yeah, what I've really noticed is that I think those of us that are these strong pillars that other people come to often through these times right now, I feel like we're being sort of forced to be put in the position of receiving. And I know that's just happened for me recently. And it's been so beautiful, because I've tended to be somebody that when I go through hard things, or when I go through my own personal stuff, I will isolate and just like be alone and not really want anybody to see that crumbling side. And it's been so beautiful, because I've just been so vulnerable. And the mother has been like, I want you to crumble. I want you to cry. I want you to tell people I need help right now. And I have been, and I have felt so held and so loved by my community in ways that it's been so healing for me. And the other thing that I'm like, do I talk about this right now? I've been having a reawakening and a resurgence of understanding power in a new way of the female energy, that Venusian, Sophia, Christ, Magdalene energy. We can call it many things, but that has the power to actually transmute and alchemize war, or the darkness, we could say, or resistance. And what I've noticed is that because of where we're at in the world right now, I think that a lot of women have stepped more into that spiritual warrior role, because we've kind of been forced to recently. Because when your survival is at hand, or your fight or flight, or a lot of the men are like not stable at all right now. They're kind of just all over the place. And one day they're here and then they're there. And so we've kind of had to stand in this goddess holding that masculine and feminine for them. And something that I've been re-embracing, that even a part of me has been like, oh my gosh, is this okay? Is I'm having this huge awakening of this Kundalini, like Shakti energy that I cannot control. It's just like coming out of me. And it's transmuting experiences. So instead of using that warrior energy, so my friend was in the hospital. He had to have his toes amputated, half of his toes amputated, and he's laying in the hospital yesterday. The wounds are open. He was messaging me saying, I'm in the most shock of my life. I've never experienced this much pain. And in that moment, the Divine Mother was like, you can help him. And I just kind of, in my spirit, went into the hospital room and I started just using the Venusian vibrations. I was not intending for this to happen, but this is what happened. And I'm sharing it because I feel like it's beautiful. It was a transmutation from the most pain he's ever felt. All of a sudden, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm totally turned on. What are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything like that, but it was transmuting the energy to be this more blissful, ecstatic experience. And the mother said to me, I started seeing how many women have stopped wars with their beauty, with their female expression. And the message was, this is what you're here to do. You're not here to fight and to battle. sometimes, yeah, it's called for, but right now we're actually called to step more into that Venus, into that female Shakti, because that is actually what is transmuting. That's what they don't want us to do. And I know for me, when that came out of me as a little girl, because I was born very strongly with that, it's probably, my Venus is in Taurus, and it's like all over my chart. That was used, I was molested. It was like, if this comes out of you, you're going to be raped or you're going to be molested. So by covering that up my whole life, that is the resurgence of this, of saying, yes, I don't care if I turn you on. I don't care if you want to have sex with me. I don't have to. And I'm going to own this. And this is beautiful. And this is mine. And so I feel like maybe that's part of what's happening for women right now too, is in this contrast of going so extreme in one direction, the mother is calling us in this other direction, like let out that female erotic blissful energy that the world needs right now to transmute this darkness. And don't be ashamed of it. Make your poetry, make your songs, do your dancing. Don't focus on trying to fight it with resistance. It's like melt it, seduce it into love. And those are the types of experiences I've been having. And I'm like, is this okay? Is that okay? And yeah, it's totally okay. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and they're portraying women nowadays very much as the superheroes that are really good at martial arts and shooting, and it's almost like, it's like it's expected the women are stepping into that masculine role, when actually what you're saying is where the real power lies.
Way more powerful.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I gave birth. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I gave birth to my kids, both of them were home births. And I decided I'm not going to have pain when I give birth. I know everybody mostly does. I'm not doing that. Why would you do that? And so both of my births were absolutely blissful. I was blissed out of my mind, like proper, like just proper in the light. I didn't experience any pain. And they were both born naturally, no drugs, no gas and air, nothing, at home. And because I chose that. And it was through total surrender and total receptivity. I was like, my body knows what to do. My soul knows what to do. Spirit knows how to deliver a life into a human body. I don't have to get involved. And I think this is relevant. Like, I think this is relevant to what we're saying, because it's like, we don't deliver our own spirit into our bodies every day. That's done for us. We wake up and we've got these amazing bodies that we can feel everything. And going back to what you were saying, Laura, yes, I'm seeing it and I've been seeing it for ages, actually, that the more that it seems like there's a threat against humanity, the more these DNA, these codes, whatever you want to call it, is activating. And I'm seeing literally, it's like the reason perhaps we're going, okay, I can't keep doing this, is because actually there is so much happening in the invisible that we're not even aware of, because some of us are consciously aware of it, some of it was sort of subconsciously, and then there's a whole heap of stuff I've been seeing that we're not seeing at all. And you can only see it when you look at somebody else, because then you can go, I can see what's happening in your unconscious, and I can see what's going on. And it's like so much activity is happening, like at warp factor, like super high, faster than the speed of light, that is happening on the metaphysical level in the invisible realm. So physically, it's like we do have to go into that surrender. We do have to unplug from this, because like if we want to perpetuate wars, and we want to perpetuate that duality, then yeah, we're going to keep fighting, and that perpetuates it. But the moment we unplug, there's no fight anymore. We're not in a fight, we're not in a struggle, we're not in a battle. And that's really important, I think, to remember that, what you said. Like, it only exists when we're participating in it, when you're playing the game. If you don't play it, it's not happening.
Well, the Cathars, that's what the Cathars were all about.
Yes.
I mean, they were all about going beyond the duality, because they understood that's what dismantles the matrix. They understood that, and that's why they were slaughtered. Every single thousands of them were all got rid of. Well, bar one, I believe. But I mean, that's how dangerous they were considered for the matrix.
So does that mean that if we do that now, we're all going to get slaughtered, though?
Well, that's a very good question, because I'd like to say it's the opposite, because as soon as you're not buying into it anymore and you're sort of, zoomed out, then also whatever's happening there is actually not going to affect you. And this is also why when the Cathars died, they died in a very different way. They didn't die in suffering. They were beyond. So when they were murdered, they were already transcended. So the pain was already transcended, the typical pain of being in the Matrix kind of thing. And I can relate to that feeling, especially if you're not alone. If you're alone, it might be different. But if you're a whole tribe, all in that consciousness, the field of that must be very, very powerful. But yeah, it's a good question what you're asking. Like, would you? I would say no. I think if you're beyond that energy, you become invisible to the gamers.
Yeah,
like you're not there. And even if they're slaughtering everyone around you, you kind of you happen to be not visible at that moment, even though physically they might see something. They're not going for you because you're not part of the game. If you look at it as a simulation, you got the game players in the game, and then you've got one figure that's basically just an observer walking through the game, but they're not, the game players are not programmed to shoot you because you're not in it. You're not part of it.
yeah.
That's how I like to see it. That's why I'm surprised
Totally.
that all these Cathars were murdered. I am surprised how that happened.
But it's so interesting that you're saying all that, and because death is a portal, right? And if the vibration on the planet at that time was to hold this duality, was to take out this hierogamic union within ourselves, and to target the divine feminine, or target just our true authentic self and the true teachings and just all that energy to like bring us down to this lower existence. It's like you're not killing anything. It just has entered a different dimension where that vibration is able to be all that it is, and then come back in order to continue to do the work to open people up to the fact that this shift time that we're in is very potent in awakening these aspects of ourselves. But these dark cycles of history and all that was kind of wiped out just kind of went sort of dormant, went into stasis, for us to come in with amnesia to then remember and regenerate it and resurrect it and rebuild the architecture, which takes down the parasitic system that wanted to wipe it out and convince humans that there's something else, and to rely on the system to answer to an outer authority and the lower creator gods, and just the patriarchal programs and the Saturn moon matrix technologies and all the reversal grids and all that, just for people to just kind of crack through eventually and be like, what about our soul origins? What about the truth of who we really are and what we're made of? It's sort of like when animals get wiped out too. It's like they go into a higher dimension, and it's like nothing ever really dies. And so when we drop the fear of death, we can move through that death, rebirth, alchemical rebirth process. We can maintain the physical vessel and continue to like go through those cycles while maintaining the physical vessel, the maiden, mother, crone initiations. But whether our physical body makes it or not, it doesn't matter, because it's our soul development and who we are as a soul that is going to determine what we experience next. And the lessons of humans is, like you learn to find yourself again in the face of these, things, instead of coming from a engineered response of this is what you've been taught to react to, like the problem, reaction, solution that has tied people in. And now, with the sun moving into Scorpio in this next eclipse, and the fact that Ophiuchus in the ether energy and the divine mother energies are so strong, that alchemical process of death and rebirth is really integrating into that unconditional love of source and just the divine, and how what we're emerging as is the more pristine versions of ourself, dismantling the programs, dismantling the matrix. And it's just, I'm not articulating it very well, but it's just,
you are if I may interject, well, I'm not really, but If I may interject here for a moment.
Excuse me.
What I was going to say is what we're talking about now, it's like it's encouraging for ourselves and people to look beyond the duality. And what David, for instance, is really like banging on about at the moment is about what he sees happening in the alternative media. Because when the alternative media should be talking about these kind of things, you know, instead it's all about this against this and who's right and what's your opinion about this party and about that party, and it's only exacerbating the duality more. And that really gets to him, because he's really like, well, no, because then it's here and no further once again. Whereas once we break out of that and we go, hang on, we are the all that is, all that ever was, and all that ever will be.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in this, what's your opinion and what's your, and you know, that constant merry-go-round of energies. And it's almost our obligation as spirits to go beyond it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like within every single fractal of humanity exists the awakening or unawakened Christ. And they're just lost in an illusion. And some of us have very much transcended that and returned to hold that Christ energy, but we can't judge them for being where we probably once were. I love that we brought up the Cathars, because I feel like I've had a lot of dreams about the Cathars for the past year. And when I was in France, without knowing it, I went to all of the places where the biggest massacres occurred. And when I would go there, my soul was like freaking out. I mean, I was having memories, but I didn't really know what I was remembering. And those codes are awakening in us right now, very much so. I've actually been having a lot of dreams of you ladies for the past year in regards to the Cathars, which is very interesting. So yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that really is, we have to stand in such neutrality of what everyone is choosing right now, what everyone is playing out, and rise in love, right? Rather than fall in love, rise into that loving space and witness it from this place of total neutrality, honoring what everyone is choosing, and also being very clear about where our timeline is from what we are choosing, and being willing to let go or release people along the way that are really choosing to stay in that war duality. On the Lionsgate, yeah, I'll share. I have nothing to hide. Everyone's going to find out at some point. It's okay. On the Lionsgate, my husband literally said to me, I don't believe in ascension anymore. I'm not a starseed. I don't believe in any of this. And I just knew, I was like, well, that's going to be a problem, right? And after the Lionsgate was over, the angelic team and Sophia and everybody came in and said, congratulations, you have actually exited, Nina, you have exited the war duality. Earth 2 is what they called it. And they said, you've entered Earth 1. And so those of you that are exiting this war, push and pull in duality of I have to war and battle, you're now entering Earth 1. You have transcended the duality battle. And I said, but I know what this means, right? Because he hasn't. And they were like, right, he loves the battle. And so we're in the house together, and it was two people in two different worlds. And this is what I'm noticing is happening with people. It's like the contrast is so extreme, is some people are like, I love the battle. I love the war. Like, come get me. I can't wait to take you down. I have my guns ready. And then you have other people that are going, yeah, this isn't real. This is an illusion, and I'm not participating in this, and I don't have to. And I'm actually almost living in a bubble above this existence that you're living in. So it's almost like that duality psychosis is intensifying. I don't know if anybody else is noticing that. I'm actually witnessing people that are in that duality consciousness. They're having psychosis and mental breakdowns and seeing demons. And it's like, well, you're just becoming aware of where you're locked in the matrix, right? Like I became aware of that in 2017, and that's when I was pulled out of it. And then we still find ourselves sometimes going into it, and it's a process. But really, it's just there's a line being drawn in the sand, and either you're above it and you're witnessing it, or you're in it. And if you're in it, it's going to kind of, the people that are in it right now, I mean, they just look like they're losing their minds. And then the people that aren't, that are witnessing it, they're shining brighter than they ever have. I'm amazed at the contrast of how we have these people that are walking around, that the colors, the robes of light, you know, as Revelation stated, I'm seeing people in robes of light, or I'm seeing them completely possessed. And essentially it is, which world are you walking in? Which spirit are you walking in? And we can't hide it anymore. And the angel said to me, you know, last year it was actually 2 summers ago, they said there's coming a time when everything is going to be so transparent that everyone will know angels and demons do walk amongst you, around you, and no one will be able to hide anymore who their alliance is with. If you're more enslaved to pleasure of the matrix, well, then you're not sovereign, right? Whether it be marijuana or sex or alcohol or whatever it is, you're enslaved to the masters of that realm. But if you have let those things go and you're truly sovereign and free, the thing that is crumbling and going down, it can't take you with it. So there's no chains to tie you to that master. You are rising in love. You're not falling and crashing in love. Yeah.
It's so well said. And I've heard you mentioned a couple of times about illusion. And that's another majorly important point, because we tend to go into illusion in this realm. And I guess that part of it is also, there's so much traumatic stuff happening here that it's almost like a way of coping. But the big thing is are individuals prepared to take a good hard look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, where am I being delusional right now? Am I willing to look at it, and am I willing to let it go if I see it? And there's very, very few people that are really willing to do that, unfortunately. And, you know, some people say, oh, I'd rather face an army of thousands than face myself, kind of thing. But the key to awakening from this is to allow yourself to let go of these illusions. And when I did my ayahuasca in 2010, I had no idea how delusional I was. I didn't know. And then during the ayahuasca, I was shown all these delusions that I had, you know, and I was so shocked. Me? I have this? And ever since I understood, okay, we're getting these illusions all the time. We're going into these bubbles of reality to cope. And there must be a willingness to know that we as a spirit are not part of these illusions. We're just in them temporarily, but are we willing to let go of them? Because that is a key factor in order to move away from it all, or to get through it all.
Guys, have you seen the movie, the fourth movie of The Matrix?
Yeah, I saw it the other day.
I only watched it like a week ago. I didn't even know there was a fourth one. It was on Netflix or something. Oh my gosh, if you haven't seen the fourth Matrix, watch it. Did you love it? Like,
well, I loved the twin flame aspect of it.
I totally loved it.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, I think it's a really great analogy for what we are all talking about. It's like you can plug yourself in, and then you're playing your avatar. You're the character in the Xbox movie. You're not the person playing it. You become the character in the Xbox movie. You're in the Matrix. You're fighting. You're doing all of this stuff. And then you can get killed in that arena, right? If you believe it, this is what happens to the characters in the Matrix, right? If they believe that it's actually happening to them whilst they're in the Matrix, their actual body, not their avatar body, dies as well, because they believe it, right? But if they don't believe it, and you're like dodging the bullets, like, whoa, I can do anything, this isn't real, and you know you're in a game, then you don't die. And you unplug.
It's so intelligent, that film. I mean, it's the Wachowski sisters now that wrote part of the script. They are definitely privy to knowledge, because it's spot on. It's a great analogy, the whole film, you know.
It's cool. So it basically, like, unplugging from that, and then you're just living life. Now, something I want to bring up here, because a lot of talk, we talk about not being in that illusion and then transcending it or whatever, and, you know, losing our bodies or allowing our bodies to go. I kind of want to, I feel like there's more to this, because personally, my experience is that when my spirit is fully in my body, I'm completely, this vessel is receptive to spirit. I've done lots of cleaning out to clean out loads of junk and ancestral stuff and conditioning stuff, as much as we are able, as much as I'm able, to fully receive my spirit in. So I'm in that receivership. I'm in that divine union of the mortal and the immortal, the masculine, the feminine, in as much as I can be in any one moment. And I feel like it's really important that being in this body, being so present and being in that space of total peace, right? So not in the duality, but peace is a state of being that's always there. Like you were saying, Laura, miracle, the miracle state, that miracle frequency, that peace frequency, that unconditional love frequency, it's there all the time. It's not, we don't have to create it. And it's, where is it? It's inside. It's not outside of us where you got to go and I've got to go and plug into this visualization of something that's peaceful and miraculous up here. No, it's actually in here. Exactly. Yeah. It is the true state of being whilst the mind is playing this game. And to actually be so in the body, so connected to your spirit in the body, that when the two come together, when the spirit and the body anchor in, and there's that like when the baby's head engages, and then that birthing can happen. It's like that birthing happens for us, where we birth into the light body, we birth into the physicality as much as we can be physical in that realm of fifth or whatever higher dimension, that higher frequency. And from, in my experience, that is the ultimate state of protection. And so, and that's where I'm not in the game. I'm so fully connected to myself, to my source, to the earth, to that absolute reality. And then, you know, we're talking about the Cathars, and I was thinking about the ancient Druids and how on the last ecliptic cycle, what is it? Laura will tell us the answer to that. However many thousands of years it is, 6,500 or whatever it is per cycle, that the Druids disappeared. They went into the cairns with the winter solstice on whatever date that was, and they disappeared. And it's like they went into that other frequency, that other realm of being. And yeah, I would say that my interpretation of that is they went back into their light bodies. And I feel like going into the light body is sort of like, and I could be wrong, okay, so this is just how I feel, but it's not about leaving the body and saying, okay, body, you're nothing, you're just a vessel, you're just going to go back to the mud, you're nothing. No, because the body is so super intelligent. It is the divine Sophia codes. It is matter has consciousness. It's the divine feminine consciousness. To me, it is anyway. And so it's not just nothing to just let it go and go, okay, spirit is more, body is nothing. For me personally, they're both equal and opposite forces that are incredibly important and necessary to have this human existence and to have that experience of that divine place, of that peace, of that unconditional love. So for me, it's not about like getting out of the body and saying, okay, I reject my body, I'm going to transcend it and transcend my ego and transcend. It's like, where are you going? Where are you like, be careful of that. Be careful of that, because that can be another trap as well.
Yeah, that's what's called the light body, but it could also be considered your perception has changed, and therefore you are entering another dimensional reality, and so your body just is now in a different vibration. And so for a person who still remains here, it would look like a light body, but to you it's just still a body. But
I think that's what you were saying, Nina, is like some people you see is like really dark and shadowy or shady, and other people you can see their colors, you can see their aura, you can see their light much more. You can see it in people's eyes. You can see if people are in there or they're like dead, like zombies, or if they're awake and they're alive, and you can see their soul when you look in their eyes.
It's wild. I've heard of people talk about NPCs and clones and all this stuff. And I mean, I'm kind of witnessing it like that right now. It's like the body is a vessel, but whatever it's a vessel for, whatever you're in agreement with. And right now, nobody can hide that. I mean, your colors or your lack of colors, therefore, are right out there. You know, we're all wearing our heart on our sleeve. Which heart are you wearing? That's what I'm really noticing right now. And I love it because it makes it a lot easier to navigate through resonance and trust and discernment, because, you know, if somebody is completely, their heart is like, I'm here to break your heart, they can't hide that anymore. And
No,
that's an
you're right.
that's an
You're
awesome
right.
thing. You know, the reptilian or the dark aspect, we have so many names for it. Archonic, like it's all basically saying fallen angel, whatever. We're all saying the same thing, which is either your alliance is to serve Mother, Father, God, Source, and you're walking in that light, or your alliance is, I'm rebellious. I've literally had people say to me recently, they're not hiding it. They're like, I rebel against God. I want to rebel against God. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And it's like, well, thank you. Thank you for telling me you're the used car salesman so I can stay away from you, you know?
Yeah.
So wild. Because that energy is like within us. So it's, if you're going to rebel against something, it's like you're basically rebelling against your own higher self. And
Yeah.
and it's kind of like the rebellion is do as thou shall will, or
Yeah.
and that's great because, you know, willpower and everything. But if we look at polarity integration and the fact that Libra and Aries are opposite each other, it's like Aries cannot stand on its own in its ego identity without appreciating the importance of the inner harmony, with the inner union, with the balance of the masculine and feminine, with the relationship working really, really well within. And to kind of run away from that or rebel against it is to basically say, I'm going to be service to self. I don't want to consider others. But, you know, when we're not facing that Mars energy and we're just in the Libra, how much are we giving ourselves away for others? Like, we need the integration of both, where the I am creator self is standing strong in sovereignty, but able to walk with that higher self, like in relationship to that, so that the ego is holding space for the soul and spirit to express itself through, instead of being like, oh, I'm just going to cut you off because I just want to do what I want to do and rebel. That's not sovereignty or freedom, you know, because that's going to, you're going to have to go back to the scales and balance that out. And that's what karma is. It's just like, okay, well, when you reflect on that, was that really in balance? You know, is that in agreement with the laws and physics of your body? Because the body's going to start to retaliate. And that's why we get disease, you know, and people, you know, are taught to give that power away when they feel that imbalance or disease, or to have that quick fix, or to take those drugs, when in actual fact, it's an opportunity to clear that imbalance and to get to know ourselves better, and to see where have we run wild in that willpower and not answer to that internal need to have justice, balance, harmony, and between, you know, those polarities within. And so this whole matrix is set up to doesn't matter like what side you choose, as long as you're choosing a side and you're at war, you're going to be at war within yourself, because we can only win the war within. The ultimate victory is winning that war within, and not and letting those two become one again. So it's really up to us. But yeah, it's when people can like get that, or you can just feel it, it's just like, okay, well, you know, this is a self-serving person, you know, whereas we can be of service to others, but not negate the self. You know, this is really what these times are about, is being that vessel. I don't know.
Totally.
Yes.
That was brilliant. That was really good, Laura. Yeah.
I mean, it's so good. We could keep going for hours.
All of you guys, everything you're saying. Yes.
Let's what message would we like to leave on today, or any advice or anything that we can offer to everybody who's listening?
I'm just going to say, be so vulnerable and so authentic right now. I've been loving just saying to myself, like, how are you feeling right now? How do you feel around this person? Does your feminine energy contract? Does it relax? Maybe they help you relax more. Maybe you feel safe with them. I've been noticing all of these different rules I've sort of had for myself around my feminine energy that I learned as a little girl that I didn't realize I had, because it was meant to be polite. And now it's been so beautiful to be like so authentic and real. Oh, this person's energy makes my female energy feel unsafe. So instead of me standing there feeling unsafe, I'm just going to walk away, and that's okay. And oh, I'm feeling sad. I want to cry right now. I'm going to let people see me cry. And then just really embracing all of those different authentic, true feelings that we're feeling, because there's so much happening on the planet right now. We're not even feeling all of our own stuff. We're crying, we're grieving, we're mourning. I mean, there are horrifying things going on in Israel right now, and all over the world, and Gaza. And it's like, this is our cosmic body that is going through this battle, and we're feeling it. And that's happening on a macro, microcosmic level. And the way to transcend it isn't by ignoring it, but by being okay with every cycle, the cycle of death, the cycle of the rose when she's blooming in the sun, but then she starts to, it's all the seasons. And staying unattached, because there is beauty also in the breakdown, and through claiming that beauty in the breakdown, we are resurrected. We're carrying our own cross right now. We're on the cross, and we're going to die a million times, but we can be resurrected a million times as long as we don't believe that death is real, which is exactly what, like that matrix. And that's what Christ came to teach us. This life is eternal. You are eternal. The physical death is not real, but if you believe it is, it is. But for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, know that beyond this, there is no death. Where there is life, there is no death. Where there is life, there is always resurrection. We can resurrect a million times. We can resurrect eternally, and we will. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I know I'm learning right now, and that this ascension is teaching us.
Well said.
That's beautiful.
Oh, so incredible. I guess I'll share my final thoughts here. Yeah, I just when we look at the fact we're elemental beings, right? And we look at just the enormity of like the water element, right? With the Pluto and the Scorpio. It's just like water wants to flow, and move through us. And just like you said, just the vulnerability, just being able to cry, just being like really true to what element shows up when it needs to show up. Embracing, these elementals, and not like letting the mind put a block on it or a dam, because then it just gets internalized in the body. Just, it's like really tuning into like what the body needs. What is the pain teaching us? What is it telling us? Where does it want to be set free? And I love what you said, Tara, just like with the birthing process. It's like, pain is very much in the mind and in the resistance, and the surrender is just letting the flow, letting nature take its course. Nature knows what it's doing, and that trust and surrender is like returning to that unconditional love connection with the mother and the father and our true parents, instead of the false parents that is society. It's a reward system, and it punishes you if you don't like do what it tells you to do. And it's just an abusive relationship, right? Because we're in relationship to everything. So are the things that we're in relationship with making us feel like we have to be rewarded or punished, versus feeling the unconditional love and flow of just being who you are, and knowing that you're being held and loved for just everything that you are, and that we know how to self-correct through the guidance of love versus punishment and reward. I think that's another sort of duality thing, is to be more fluid, more forgiving, more compassionate, more accepting, and more just in the flow, you know, so that we can make self-correction instead of like hide the shadow or not be able to admit and self-correct, or not be able to engage somebody in a conversation and say, hey, okay, that kind of hurt, you know, but it might be my trigger, you know, more spiritual maturity, more like higher vibe, you know, kind of conversation, because our words are so powerful. And to me, like 5D is all about like having more command over ourselves and our minds and the words that we choose to speak in every moment. You know, are we speaking from truth? Are we speaking from our divine center? Or are we just, you know, in this lower, you know, matrix reaction, divide and conquer sort of, if you're on this side or that side determines whether or not you're worthy of a friendship. It's just kind of like, let's just be in the love and recognize that we don't have to see things the same way, but we can all agree that we're going to be in love, respect, integrity, and mutual love and support for one another. And and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's my message too. I was thinking just before we jumped on here, I was thinking a lot about peace and all the different things that peace means to people. Like there's a gazillion, you know, how many billion different perspectives we can have on what's going on and what's real and what's true and what's right and what's wrong. And we can have a million, you know, several billion different perspectives on what peace is. But I was reflecting, it'd be really great to hear what everybody actually, you know, everybody watching, like put down what peace is for you. But I was feeling into this, and it's like that, it is that permanent state of being. For me, peace is my natural state of being. It's who I am. And exactly like we've all been talking about, it's like just be in peace. Can we all choose just to go back into the peace? And if when we, more of us choose to do this collectively, being transparent, because it takes more effort to not be, takes more effort to hold it in, and it makes us sick and it isolates us, and we hide in a cave and we separate and we separate and we separate and we go into fear and we separate and we're more vulnerable. Whereas if we're transparent and open and flowing and free and just, we drop all of the stuff because it's visible anyway, and more visible, like you were saying, Nina, right? It's all more visible anyway. There's nowhere to hide. There is literally nowhere to hide. So how about we can all just give our own selves a little red pill right now and just go into, metaphorically, and go into that, I'm just choosing peace. I'm choosing peace, and feel that collective energy of our soul families, of our true brothers and sisters, you know, whatever people's perspectives are, whether we agree or disagree, and just can we just all be in that vibration of peace? And we would change this reality so fast by doing that, instead of fighting it, which is going to keep perpetuating it. So yeah, let's be in peace. And by the way, if I don't remember if I said this on our last talk, but I decided to give away a course that I used to charge £200 for, and it's now on my website, taraloveperry.com, and I'm giving away the whole 7 steps to transformational self-love for self-help, and it includes that self-forgiveness, self-connection, loving your pain body, embracing your inner child. And it's so simple. Anyone can do it, and it's really beautiful, and it really works. It's saved my life so many times, and it's for free, and people just go and sign up and get it, no obligation. Unsubscribe once you're done, I don't mind. Just use it, because it really helps us. You know, it's a great tool to come back into peace with and harmony with yourself, and then with everyone else. So yay.
Absolutely.
Yay.
A few words. What I would like to give as a last thing is, are people willing to ask themselves if they might be addicted to drama? And are they willing to let go of that addiction and move away from this crazy drama? It feels to me like a very important aspect at the moment. So that's it. A few words.
That's good.
Good job.
We've got a restaurant reservation in 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
5 minutes.
I'm in the
So amazing to be with you guys. I knew I'd feel so much better after this. This is so cool.
Wow. My heart feels so much better too. I love you guys.
Love you.
Love you guys. Hugs.
Huggies.
Let's
See you
love
next
each other. Love to everybody. Thanks for watching.